many Kenyans park their emergency fund in their main bank account or in their M-Pesa, and that really makes it too easy for you to just keep chipping into it. When money is too accessible to you, when it's just lying around in your M-Pesa or in your bank account, the ease of you using it for non-emergency issues is extremely high. The most important thing when you're setting up an emergency fund is to clearly define what its role and its purpose is. Another place I've seen people put in money is things like land. Guys, hata nimechoka tu kufikiria story. How is a piece of land an emergency fund, guys? How is that a piece of how is a piece of land an emergency? Land is not an emergency fund. Okay? Crypto, the stock market, bonds are not an emergency fund, guys. I think when you're coming up with an emergency fund, one of the most important things is to clearly define what merits a withdrawal from that account. The reason you're liquidating from your emergency fund for non-emergency issues is because you do not have working sinking funds. An emergency fund caters to unexpected expenses, while a sinking fund caters to expected expenses. Money market funds will not make you wealthy. They'll make you safe because you have savings, but they won't make you wealthy. Happy Friday, good people. I hope you are well. Welcome to another episode of Finance Friday. As per usual, I'm very, very happy to have you here. I really hope you enjoyed last week's episode. I really enjoyed reading your feedback in the comment section. And today, I want us to build up on that conversation that we talked about. But before we do that, I just want to plug you. Obviously, I'm shooting at Sarova Pan-Afric as per usual. And I'm really, really excited to be, working or with them on our Finance Friday episodes. I've really been enjoying my stays here. Now, in case you did not know, Sarova actually has a women-only wing. Think of it as your own little sanctuary in the city where every room is designed with soft feminine touches inspired by the elegance and the legacy of Wangari Maathai. From the decor to the service, it's a space that celebrates womanhood in the most intentional way. And the best part of it all, you'll be hosted and cared for by an all-women team who make the experience feel very personal, warm, and refined. This isn't just a stay, it's a statement. It's a space created for women and by women. If you are a solo traveler or you're a woman traveling alone or wanting to do a weekend staycation, feel free to check out Sarova Pan-Afric. And when you get there, please ask them to show you the women-only wing. You will absolutely love it. So last week, we had a conversation about the 7 things you need to do before you can actively start investing. And if you do those 7 things, you're going to really enjoy and accelerate your progress towards wealth building and creation. In case you missed that episode, I'm going to link it in the description box down below so that you can catch up on that first, and then you can come here and we can continue with our conversation. As you've seen from the title of our conversation or our video today we are talking about emergency funds. As we did the discussion last week, we mentioned a little bit that the emergency fund needs to be very well done so that your investments can work. And today I really wanted to spend some time to talk about some mistakes I've seen people doing while they're trying to build or planning to build an emergency fund. And that is what I would like to highlight in today's episode. This is really, really important. I keep saying that this is one of the most ignored parts of personal finance, that if you can manage to crack its code, you will really, really enjoy your experience with finances, with budgeting, with investing. Emergency funds changed my life, and I think they're gonna change your life too. So if you're keen on finding out how you can do them better, keep watching. The first mistake I've seen people making with the emergency fund is putting it or treating it like a regular savings account. Now, many Kenyans park their emergency fund in their main bank account or in their M-Pesa, and that really makes it too easy for you to just keep chipping into it. Now, I know it's called an emergency fund because we want to be able to access funds as quickly as possible. But you guys, we know ourselves. I know myself. You know yourself. When money is too accessible to you, when it's just lying around in your M-Pesa or in your bank account, the ease of you using it for non-emergency issues is extremely high. When you're going to the supermarket to get groceries and maybe you're short of money for whatever reason, you're going to dip into that. Now, the most important thing when you're setting up an emergency fund is to clearly define what its role and its purpose is. Your emergency fund is your rainy day fund. And you want to look at it from the perspective of, if anything happened to me and my ability to make an income, if I lost my job, if I had to shut down my business, if I got unwell, if, for instance, like myself, when I got into postpartum, as much as I had hoped and planned to work when I initially got my baby, I wasn't able to work for 6 months. And in those 6 months that I was not actively earning an income, I really relied heavily on my emergency fund to sustain me. Now, if that money was just sitting in a bank account or in my M-Pesa, I would not have been able to accumulate as much of it as I was able to. So we recommend that this is actually put aside in a money market fund. And the reason we say money market funds, or if you're in the diaspora, you could talk to the bank that you use from over there to get a high yielding savings account. We call that the HYSA. Okay, that's a high yielding savings account. It's almost like the equivalent of money market fund here in Kenya or in some East African countries. Just get an account under the unit trusts that is that preserves your capital. That's really, really important. Your capital should be preserved, but also you should be able to withdraw or liquidate the money within 2 to 4 working days. Stop putting it in the bank, of course, because it doesn't grow. And the reason why I say, as much as we are not ideally supposed to invest our rainy day fund, we are not supposed to just let it sit. For example, and I think I've mentioned this before, I started building my emergency fund actively in 2020 after I had lost my job in 2019. And I'm still building on it. Like right now, I have maybe give or take around 10 to 11. I've been stuck for a while. I've been stuck there for a while, but I now have around, 9 to 10 months worth of living expenses saved. And that has taken me around 4 years. I've only had to withdraw or liquidate from it once. So imagine if that money was just in a bank account, all the interest I've been earning in my money market fund, I'd have lost out on it. So please make sure, if you can, have the money sitting in a money market fund. So obviously separate your emergency fund money from any other savings that you might have. In your bank account or in your M-Pesa, you probably have money for other things and savings for other things. I recommend putting some respect on your emergency fund, because that's the money that you have as your fallback plan in case things were ever to go completely bizarre, like horrible, okay? So you do not want to mix that money with any other money. Open a specific dedicated money market fund, whether that is your Sanlam, your Jubilee, your CIC, whatever money market fund makes you happy, as long as it's a credible one. Open one specific one. And as you're opening it, in at the back of your mind and also on your budgeting tool, label this money market fund as your emergency fund, so that whenever you're putting money into that specific MMF, you know you're putting money for emergencies purposes. And if you're withdrawing money from that money market fund, you know that you're withdrawing because of an emergency. That is really, really important, okay? The second mistake that I think a lot of us are making is wrong sizing. We are either doing too small an emergency fund or too big an emergency fund. By the way, yes, it is actually possible to do too big of an emergency fund. So sometimes I see people put aside 10,000, 20,000, and they say, oh, at least I now have 30,000 for emergency purposes. While we are not discounting the importance of even that amount, what I mean to say when I say it's too little is that we have not done our budget. And because we've not done our budget, we do not know how much we need for our emergency fund. Now, I want to coach you very, very quickly on this, because I think it's going to help us a lot. I know when you go online, and especially because some of the financial advice that is on some of the Google platforms is not very tailored to the Kenyan market. Sometimes you see someone online writing a blog and they tell you, just put aside $1,000. That should be enough for an emergency fund. That is not the best way to go about it. The best way to go about ensuring that you have enough of an emergency fund, guys, is to first of all do a budget. I know, guys, I know you think you're going to avoid budgeting, but you can't. You must, okay? So you have to start with a budget. Okay. On that budget, you want to calculate your total monthly living expenses. I'm talking household needs. I'm talking transport needs. I'm talking the needs for your doing your hair. I'm talking about any loan obligations, any insurance obligations, any school fees you have coming up in a year. You want to estimate and to figure out how much you require in a month. But how much you require in a month is not enough, but we can also work with that. So you want to take that amount, and maybe you find that you are spending 60,000 every month. For a 6 months emergency fund, you need 60,000 times 6. That's 360,000 that should be sitting in a money market fund for you to say, I have a fully funded 6 months emergency fund. Now you see why we cannot pick a blanket amount and say that this is the enough amount, because maybe for you spend 60,000 every month, another person may spend 40,000 every month. Another person could be spending 200,000 every month. So for them, a 6 months emergency fund is 1.2 million saved up in an MMF. Okay, so that is the first thing. Now, once you figure that out, you probably need to add a few more bucks on top. And let me tell you what you need to add. If you're a Kenyan living in the diaspora, you are in, by the way, watu wa UAE walinikasirikia sana when we did the diaspora video. They said I was giving examples with the UK, the US, and I didn't use examples with the Dohas and the Qatar. And I'm so sorry, guys. I didn't mean to. But I do recognize that you guys are also in the diaspora. So let's assume you're there, or you're in any other country, or maybe you're not even a Kenyan, but you're an African in the diaspora. I need you to add a few additions to your emergency fund. So please make sure you have either 3 to 6 months of an living expenses saved, together with a round flight back home. That is really, really important, because sometimes there's emergencies and you need to urgently travel back home and you need to stay longer than what you had planned. Maybe there's a sick parent, maybe you're burying someone, maybe just something has happened. So make sure you add a round flight back home. Any African who's living in the diaspora should have 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund saved with a round flight back home. Now, if you're not living in the diaspora, what are some of the things you need to add? 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses, together with what? Any loan obligations you have for monthly, because even if you lost your job, you would still require to service some of these loans. You need to also consider your education policies, your endowment policies, your life insurance policies. Those ones are also obligatory. They're mandatory. You need to take into account those as well when you are doing your emergency fund. If you have children in school, you need to calculate what 1 year worth of school fees would look like. So you have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Try, even if one term, if you can, 2 terms, but the recommended is 1 year worth of school fees saved aside. So you see, what we're just trying to assume is that something has happened. We saw what happened when the UN released some people from certain projects. We've seen what happens when employers, right now, especially with the rise of AI and the changing landscape in the market, we will continue to see job losses. We will continue to see businesses becoming obsolete. Okay, some things that people could not do for themselves and they were hiring for, now AI can do for them, or they can just get cheaper labor. So you really, really need to work with an assumption that anything can happen to my job, even if you are in a country or you work in a particular company or an institution that you feel job security is guaranteed. Take it from me, that's a fallacy. I've worked with so many people who worked in very well-run institutions and they thought they had job security until they didn't. Okay, so those are the add-ons. Are we together, guys? So, of course, 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. If you're in the diaspora or away from your home, add a round flight back home. If you have children, add at least a term or 2 or a year's worth of school fees. If you have obligations like insurances, please make sure you consider those as well once you're coming up with the numbers. That is really, really important. That will ensure that you're not underestimating how much you need in your emergency fund. Now, a lot of people now overdo it. Okay? And there's also a problem with overdoing it. There's a problem with underdoing it, because when you undersave, you still leave yourself vulnerable. Okay? Now, there are people who have already done 12 months worth of an emergency fund. This money is in a money market fund. You continue to add. You only needed maybe 600,000, but now we're already at 800. We are 1.2 million. You now have 2.4 million seated in a money market fund. What you're doing is that you're missing out on the opportunity cost of investing. The reason why we put money in a money market fund is for liquidity purposes, so that if I need the money within 2 to 4 working days, I can access it. If you have no business with that money, you've sorted out your emergency fund, you've sorted out your sinking fund costs, and now you're just putting money in a money market fund because you're investing, I would caution you against that. Because remember that it's low risk, low return. So when you oversave, when you've overestimated your emergency fund, and now you're just going beyond the 12 months that is recommended, you're missing out on investment opportunities in special funds, you're missing out on investment opportunities in the stock market, you're missing out on higher interest rates in the treasury bonds. Okay, so please make sure that you are doing very good calculations in terms of the emergency fund, and you're not contributing too little or also doing way too much and missing out on the opportunity cost of growing your money and multiplying it for passive income and for wealth creation in other avenues because your emergency fund is already sorted. So that's a second mistake. Third mistake, I already alluded to it, but I will mention it again, using the wrong investment vehicles. I already talked about using the banks and the M-Pesa accounts to put money for your emergency fund, and we've said that money is too damn close. It's too accessible. You're gonna spend it on non-emergency matters. Now, something else I've also started seeing or observing people doing is using SACCOs as our emergency funds. That is still the wrong avenue, guys. I'm sorry. It's still the wrong avenue. SACCOs are for dividend purposes if you've bought shares in them, and your deposits are ideally used as the foundation to borrow against. Okay? You do not want that every time you have an emergency, you have to go to your SACCO to take out a loan to deal with that emergency. Then it beats the entire logic of having this money in for emergency purposes. Please, SACCOs are like, if you put money in a SACCO, please put money there because A, you're buying shares so that you can earn dividend, but B, you're trying to build up savings or deposits so that you can borrow for capital intensive projects. Another place I've seen people put in money is things like land. Guys, hata nimechoka tu kufikiria story. How is a piece of land an emergency fund, guys? How is that a piece of how is a piece of land an emergency? It can be an emergency fund. Because even how you liquidate, like the process of liquidation could take a year, it could take 2, it could take 3. I've seen people telling me, hey, let me just buy this piece of land in case Nairobi kushindikane, like I'm not able to survive Nairobi, I'm just gonna go and build a structure on my piece of land in Namanga, for example. You guys do know building structures also costs money. You need the mabati, even if it's not going to be a mawe house. You need, even if it's not going to be a stone house, you need the iron sheets, you need the wood, you need supplies to be able to put up a bare minimum structure that you and your spouse and your children can go to in Namanga when Nairobi becomes too difficult. But even that requires money. Land is not an emergency fund. Okay? Crypto, the stock market, bonds are not an emergency fund, guys. Again, because of the fluctuations and also the barriers to exit when you really, really want that money urgently. The best avenue is your high yielding savings accounts for the people in the States and the UK and diaspora. And of course, for us guys who have access to the unit trust funds, your money market fund is the best avenue because of how easy it is for you to top up with your M-Pesa as little as possible, and also how easy it is for you to withdraw within 2 to 4 working days. In the case you lose your job or there's someone in hospital, you need to pull them out. Okay? Fourth mistake, guys, not having structure or a clear set of rules about what merits a withdrawal from that account. Now, I am a culprit. So if I'm a culprit, I believe a lot of us are culprits. A lot of us have emergency funds, and then you have a close family member or even a distant family member or a friend who has an emergency that has nothing to do with you, and you go to liquidate your own emergency fund to be able to, help them out. I think when you're coming up with an emergency fund, one of the most important thing is to clearly define what merits a withdrawal from that account. Have a set number of rules. Like, for example, for us in our household, if at all myself or my spouse are out of work, then we dip into the emergency fund. If we are unwell ourselves, the two of us or our child, and medical insurance hasn't kicked in or it has depleted, then we take money from the emergency fund. If any of our cars is in an accident again and we have issues with insurance, that money will come from an emergency fund. And then we've also extended just a little bit in case any of our parents are unwell. The emergency here is life and death. Like, this person is unwell and we need to take them to hospital or we need to pay for hospital bills, then we will liquidate from the emergency fund. You see, there's a very clear set of rules that merit withdrawal from the emergency fund. Our son's birthday, for example, is not an emergency. So if it comes and we do not have money, we are not liquidating from the emergency fund. We will make some nice pancakes in the house, or I will bake in the house. We will celebrate just the three of us. If my younger brother has emergencies, and siblings and extended family members, they always have an emergency happening. Their emergencies are not my emergencies, and I don't believe they should be. Your emergency fund is it's your saving grace. It's the one account that will come through when no one and nothing else can come through. So I discourage, as much as I know most of us don't like hearing this and we're like, oh, iyo ni uchoyo, or it's stingy. But I think a lot of us liquidate our emergency funds for people that would never come through for you. If you lost your job, if your business broke down, if your house was on fire, they'd just be like, wa, sautadu. But those are the people you're liquidating your emergency fund for. So I don't encourage that. It's really, really important that you have a clear set of rules. When you end up now withdrawing for things like impulsive weddings, travel, business top-ups and stuff like that, as much as it makes sense, then what it does is that it ends up eroding discipline. And when a true emergency hits, the fund is actually usually depleted. Okay? So please make sure that you restrict your emergency fund for things like medical bills, job losses, and major unexpected expenses. Now, if for some reason you've been a bad girl or a bad guy and you've been taking out, or you've found yourself regularly taking out money from the emergency fund that is not meant for emergencies, I want to give you 2 recommendations. Come closer. Come. You're here. Okay. The reason you're liquidating from your emergency fund for non-emergency issues is because you do not have working sinking funds. Can you imagine? Do you know what the difference between a sinking fund and an emergency fund is? Take out your notebook very quickly. Now, an emergency fund caters to unexpected expenses, while a sinking fund caters to expected expenses. Now, these things that you guys are saying, the travel, it is Shosho's birthday, it's Christmas, now we need to buy. The children have outgrown their shoes, now we need to add them more shoes. You see, all of these things, they are expected. They are not emergencies. We know we have to buy clothes for ourselves and our children. We know we have to do certain home developments occasionally. We know we have to pay for car insurance. That's not an emergency either. We know we need to replenish health insurance. You know you're going around having sex. You might get pregnant. You know you need health insurance. Like, all of these things are expected things. And the best way to cater to them is having a separate account, which we call a lifestyle sinking fund. Okay? That account right there, you put money in it, and you know that, and I believe the reason why they're called sinking funds is because we are saving to spend. That account, I'm putting money so that in 3 months I will withdraw and pay school fees. I continue putting again. I withdraw again next month because I need to buy cake for my daughter's birthday. I continue again. I need to withdraw money to get that air fryer I've been saving up for. That is what a sinking fund is for. So if you find yourself dipping into the emergency fund, dipping and continuing to dip into the emergency fund for things that are not emergencies, you would definitely require, all of us need those two accounts. And a good way to do it is, for example, like myself, I have one money market fund separate that serves the emergency fund purpose. And then I have another one that is very easy to top up and to withdraw that I use for my sinking fund costs. That is a hack that I give everyone who keeps dipping into their emergency fund. It's the reason why you're dipping into it, because you're not saving for lifestyle needs, and those are non-negotiable. You must save up for them, okay? And that's why I tell people money market funds are good, because they help you serve those two purposes. Now, if you, for some reason, were not prepared in terms of a sinking fund, but hey guys, can I give you a personal example? Just short story. I changed my car, or rather, I wanted to change my car. I was driving a Mazda Demio since 2021, very old model, 2005, my baby. I called it Baby Blue. I really, really loved it. But at some point, because of the value of the car going significantly down, insurance decided that they are not going to put me on comprehensive anymore. So they put me on a third party. So it became apparent that I'm going to have to probably change it at some point, and I started saving up for it. So I have saved up for 1.5 years since that insurance issue started. I've saved up for 1.5 years so that I'm able to upgrade, sell the car. So I sold the Demio at around 400,000. I got the money. I'd also been saving for 1.5 years. So I used a company called Autofi Limited to import my car from Japan. And at the point that the car was arriving at the port, I was still short around maybe give or take 550,000. Now, because I don't like loans, I do not prefer to buy cars by loan. That is why I just took my time, the 1.5 years, to actually save and accumulate the money to buy now the second car. I didn't want to take on debt for the car. It was a gift to myself for this year, for motherhood, for all the problems I've had to go through in life. And I didn't want my gift to come with loans and payments hanging over my head. So unfortunately, because of that deficit that I had, I dipped into my emergency fund. Yeah, that's why I told you guys I understand, because I'm a culprit as well. I dipped into my emergency fund. I took out the 550. I made the final payment. And then, of course, now I came up with a replenishment plan. As we speak right now, I have repaid roughly around 320 into my emergency fund, and I still have that balance now to be able to replenish. So that's the tip, okay? If for some reason you had a big thing come up and you hadn't planned for it and you dipped into your emergency fund, please come up with a plan to do what? To replenish. That's really, really important. So I hope that is helpful. Let me know in the comment section. Mistake number 5, a lot of us struggle with saving. It's something that we have to keep being disciplined about, and it's a muscle that we have to keep exercising. And so I feel like it's a big mistake that if you already know you're struggling with discipline, not to automate your savings into your emergency fund. We've already established that an emergency fund is non-negotiable, guys, like completely non-negotiable. So if you know that every end month you have to keep having these discussions and debates with yourself about whether to fund the account or not, a proper hack that I've implemented also with my clients, and that has worked very well, is to set a standing order with your bank account. So if your money market fund banks with Stanbic or KCB, set a standing order with your bank that the 5,000, the 10,000, the 20,000, that you've committed to be going into your emergency fund can be deducted automatically. By the time you're coming to withdraw money, the money that was supposed to go towards the emergency fund has already been deducted. Okay, please make this process easy for you. Now, I want to talk to my people. Some of my people, when I tell them to automate these investments, they tell me, but Coach Susan, standing orders are so expensive. Baby girl, your standing order is like 240 bob or 340 bob. Would you rather lose the 240 bob from the, standing order deduction, or the 5,000 bob that if you do not actually automate it, you're gonna hula that money? Can we just be honest, guys? A lot of us just find reasons and obstacles not to do what we know we are supposed to do. We are self-sabotaging. Without that standing order, most of us would not put money aside. Without that standing order, most of us will just talk our way out of funding this account. So please stop looking at insignificant amounts of money. Like, honestly, I'm not saying that 240 bob is not a lot of money, but in light of all of the money that you're going to lose because you're impulse spending and you're doing things you're not supposed to be doing with your money and you're leaving yourself open and vulnerable, the loss is even going to be much greater in future. So please, please, please automate. If you know you're struggling, automate. Okay? Mistake number 6, we do not review or adjust over time. Life changes. When you are building your emergency fund, initially, maybe you were living in a house that costed 20,000 per month. Now you've upgraded. Your house is 45,000 bob per month. You've gotten a new car like Susan. Now your fuel is probably a bit higher. Insurance is a bit higher. You've added baby number 2 or baby number 3. Now school fees is even higher. Please, 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 every so often, please review and adjust your emergency fund needs. As your life keeps expanding, and we bless the Lord for all the expansion, that also requires, again, unto whom much is given, much is also expected. So you want to keep reviewing that. I also want you guys to think about adjusting also dependents. I've been very, very keen on talking about dependents and beneficiaries. I think I will probably do a separate episode to talk about a very personal experience that I have had with regard to beneficiaries and transitions when someone passes on. That is really, really important. I'm screaming it to all my friends, all my relatives. Please be keen. I know we all think we are going to live until 80, but sometimes you have very, very good amounts of money, even in your simple money market fund, but you do not have a plan as to who should access this money, and your beneficiaries do not even know that you have money there. So that is really, really important. Keep adjusting, and then of course and monitoring, so that you can know once you've hit your goal. And once you've hit the 6-month goal or the 12 months goal, please stop there. Okay? Stop there and then start focusing your money to growth and investing so that you can create real sustainable wealth. Money market funds will not make you wealthy. They'll make you safe because you have savings, but they won't make you wealthy. So you want to quickly build up on your emergency funds and your sinking funds that are ongoing, so that the rest of your surplus money can go towards wealth creation and growth in other investments that generate a higher interest. Okay? Lastly, thinking of the emergency fund as if it is dead money. And I've found that a lot of people don't put aside emergency funds because of that reason, because they're just like, especially business people, sijui nitawasaidia aje. Yani, you people do not want to imagine that you have 6 months worth of living expenses sitting or lying around, because that's the word that you use, sitting or lying around in a money market fund. I've worked with so many people who tell me, Maze, Susan, ungekuwa unajua hiyo pesa naweza fanyia nini sahi? Nikipatwa na emergency, once I get an emergency, I'll figure it out then. So we don't want to put aside money. And I think when you do that, you skip a very foundational layer of having safe and healthy financial protection and securities built around you. So please, let's begin shifting our mindset. Your emergency fund is not for growth. Please, I know unawashwa. Najua you're thinking, wow, how much money is that is just lying around there? It is not for growth. It's for protection. It's part of your protection portfolio, not necessarily your growth portfolio. So please, as much as it even goes against the very fiber of your being as a freelancer, as a business person, as someone who likes to keep his money working somewhere in the markets for him or for her, please. And by the way, I don't know why, I feel like this, I see this a lot with my male clients. The other gender, ebu tusalimie pale kwa comment section, mtuambie kwa nini, like why does it bother some of our brothers so much to have a particular amount of money sat in a money market fund? Please let me know the mindset behind that. I'm very, very curious to hear from you and to learn. But my recommendation, of course, would be please grind harder and work harder so that you can now have a different portfolio for growth. Your emergency fund is for protection, and we do not compromise on protection. Okay? I feel like I've spoken so much and I'm down with a flu. So I'm going to end the episode here today. Let me know if this was fun, if you loved it, and if you're going to start implementing these things. 2026 needs to be a really great year. That's why I'm really going hard in this last quarter of the year to ensure that we are setting everything straight. We're setting everything in order so that we can do better in 2026. Please remember to share this video with your friends, okay? And I'll see you on the next episode of Finance Friday. Stay safe.